Here is one of the easiest ways to make a weak sports bet look brilliant. Find a team that has covered 8 of its last 9 games in some carefully chosen situation, put the record in giant numbers, and suddenly the pick feels backed by history. 8-1 against the spread after a loss. 7 straight unders in night games. 10 wins in the last 12 meetings. It looks specific, measurable, and almost impossible to ignore. But the sports betting stat that looks predictive and usually is not as the historical trend record, the neat little win-loss number created by filtering old games until a pattern appears. The problem is not that history never matters. The problem is that a trend can describe the past perfectly while telling you almost nothing about the next game. If you test one random 9-game sample, and every result is basically a coin flip, finishing 8-1 or 9-0 would be unusual. It happens roughly 2% of the time. That sounds convincing until you realize trend databases can test hundreds or thousands of combinations. Home games, road games, favorites, underdogs, short rest, long rest, after a win, after a loss in a division, outside a division at night in September with a certain point spread, against an opponent coming off 2 road games. Search enough filters and something will always look incredible. Test 100 meaningless trends and by chance alone, you should expect about 2 of them to produce an 8-1 looking result. Test 1,000 and you can expect roughly 20. The record is real. The story attached to it is what may be fake. This is exactly where I use ParlayEye, my AI sports betting assistant at parlayi.cc. Instead of getting hypnotized by one attractive trend, ParlayEye gives the analysis live context. It can pull current statistics, injuries, matchup information, role changes, and market details, then let you choose one of 5 leading AI models or compare how several models judge the same pick. The live chat makes it easy to challenge the reasoning when something changes, and after a loss, the system can reflect on what went wrong so the same analytical mistake does not keep repeating. That combination is powerful because it forces a trend to compete against the full picture instead of letting one cherry-picked number control the decision. Now look at what happens when a trend survives long enough to reach your screen. Nobody posts the 47 boring filters that went 5-4. You only see the filter that went 8-1. This is selection bias. The winner was chosen because it looked impressive, then presented as if someone had predicted it in advance. Imagine flipping a coin 9 times. If you get heads 8 times, you would not conclude the coin has discovered a permanent edge. You would flip it again. Yet bettors routinely see a team cover 8 of 9 games and treat the record like a law of physics, even when the coaches changed, the roster changed, the opponents changed, and the market line changed with them. That last part matters most. A team can genuinely perform better in a certain situation and still be a bad bet today because you are not wagering on the team in isolation. You are wagering against a number. Maybe the team was undervalued in the first 4 games, fairly priced in the next 3, and overpriced in the final 2. Combining those games into one clean record erases the price that existed each time. An 8-1 trend at old numbers does not prove there is value at the current number. You see the same illusion in player props. A graphic might say a basketball player has cleared 24 points in 6 straight games against tonight's opponent. That sounds like matchup dominance until you inspect the games. Maybe 2 came 3 seasons ago. Maybe the defender who created the matchup is gone. Maybe his minutes, usage, teammates, and offensive role have all changed. The player is the same name, but the data may be describing 6 different versions of him. Baseball gives us an even sharper example: batter versus pitcher history. A hitter going 10 for 22 against a starting pitcher feels personal. We can picture him seeing the ball perfectly out of that pitcher's hand. But 22 plate appearances are a tiny sample, and the result can be distorted by a few ground balls finding holes. Meanwhile, the pitcher may have changed his velocity, pitch mix, location, or approach. The matchup history looks precise because the names match. Precision is not the same thing as prediction. So how do you separate a useful pattern from a decorative one? First, demand a mechanism. If a trend says teams perform better with a major rest advantage, there is at least a possible reason involving fatigue and preparation. If it says a franchise is 9-1 on the second Thursday of a month after wearing a dark uniform, there is no believable pathway connecting the filter to the outcome. A pattern without a mechanism is usually just a coincidence wearing a spreadsheet. Second, Inspect the sample instead of staring at the percentage. 8 and 1 equals 89%, but the percentage hides how little evidence created it. Add 10 more games and the apparent edge can disappear almost immediately. Large percentages built from small samples are some of the most persuasive numbers in betting because they feel decisive while carrying enormous uncertainty. Third, ask whether the rule was created before or after the results were known. A real predictive idea should work on games it was not designed around. Build the rule using one period, then test it on a different period without changing the filters. If it only performs on the original games, you did not discover a signal. You created a biography of the past. Fourth, account for the line. Straight-up records tell you who won. Betting records must tell you whether the available price underestimated the chance of that outcome. If a trend does not preserve the odds, the closing line, and the exact number available, it is missing the part that determines whether a wager had value. This does not mean deleting every historical split from your research. It means demoting the trend from verdict to question. Use it to ask why something might be happening. Then test that explanation with current information. Projected minutes, usage, injuries, lineup combinations, travel, rest, weather, pitch mix, opponent style, and the price in front of you right now. The strongest betting analysis rarely fits inside one shiny win-loss record. It combines multiple signals, weighs how current they are, and makes each one earn its place. A trend can be the beginning of that process. It should never be allowed to end it. So the next time you see 8 and 1 in giant letters, do not ask whether the record is true. It probably is. Ask how many filters were searched before somebody found it, whether the same situation still exists, whether the result worked on new data, and whether today's line already erased the advantage. The stat may be accurate. The prediction is a completely different question.